I want to show you the simplest way to get the uh, add-ins, the heat transfer add-in, the energy systems add-in, and the uh, air water properties in English units. Those three add-ins working on a Windows-based machine. The easiest way to do that is to go to the Excel in ME website and find the installer program, the Microsoft installer program that will uh, create a directory and store these support files in that directory for you. Again, for Windows users, this is the best way to go. So this Excel in Mechanical Engineering website, if you don't remember that, if you just can remember that you want Excel in ME, Excel in Mechanical Engineering, um, if you Google that, Excel in ME, the top hits come up to be this website. So if you go there, again, to this Excel in ME site, uh, you can find on the left a menu of different subjects, and thermal systems is the page that we want to go to get the add-ins for thermal systems computation. So when we go to this page, there are a number of different options. Um, this one here that you see, ME415 64-bit MSI, it actually doesn't really have anything to do with being a 64-bit operating system. So no worries if you've got an older 32-bit system. But just download this installer file and run it, and it will put these programs, support programs that you need, in a common directory on your C hard drive partition. So just a note of mention here for Mac users, Macintosh users, I'll come back to this. We found that it's a little bit better to have these as a template that people can just load this template each time they want to start a project. But for Windows users, the recommendation is to download this installer file, and I'll just save it over top of this one I already had. And then once it's installed, you can just go and run that file. Of course, there's some warnings that this is an executable file. It may cause some problems. When you say OK, you get another warning that suggests that you think twice about it, but it's perfectly safe. You can run this installer file. It's going to copy some files to your computer. So when we click run, it's going to bring up a dialog window that for Microsoft installer operation. So it just says it's going to guide you through the steps required, uh, and this add-in is going to be called Energy Systems Add-in, just collection of things. So when we run this, it says, okay, we're ready to install these on your computer. Uh, it takes a little while to unwrap that and go and look at your system, but it'll come back and ask you if it's okay to proceed. Okay, so it's been successfully installed. Perfect. So close to exit. And after that has happened, if you go and look at your C drive, where your system drive, uh, these are all the different folders in my C drive. There should be one that's been created for you called add-ins. And this add-ins file or folder will have in it a number of items, but the ones that have been added, I already had these in here by the way, but should be air water properties in English units. Sorry, the heat transfer.chm file, the heat transfer.xlam file, the ME415 add-in file. Um, I'm not sure if it drops this 415 help file in there or not. I think it does. So I apologize that I'm not sure about that. But these add-in files and the heat transfer help file are the ones that you need. So once you've done that, then you'll need to go to Excel and find those add-ins, that is, activate them. So to do that, the best way to do that is to come into Excel and to make sure that you have the developer tab visible here. I don't see the developer tab, so I'm going to go and under my file options, and I want to make sure that when I customize the ribbon here under file options on Excel, I customize the ribbon. I want to make sure that the developer tab, show the developer tab on the ribbon is checked over here. So it was came in unchecked. I need to check that to make sure the developer tab is going to be visible. While I'm in here, there are a couple of other options that are needed to allow the heat transfer add-in to initialize properly, and they're under this Trust Center at the bottom. On the left here, Trust Center, and of course we need to go to our Trust Center settings, and under the Trust Center settings we have to change some macro options, macro settings here. So we want to enable macros. Can cause dangerous code to run. We don't really have any dangerous code, but so we need that one. And then the second thing is we need to trust access to the VBA project object module. So under the Trust Center settings, macro settings, enable macros, and enable the trust access to the VBA object model. Okay, so I think that's all that we need. Now we've got the developer tab on here. When we go to developer, and then we go to Excel add-ins, and now we don't see the add-ins that we want here in this list. We have to go and browse to find them. So right here where it says browse, we want to browse to find those add-ins that we just installed. They're not going to be in this default area that Microsoft likes for the add-ins to be stored. They're going to be in that folder that was created by the installer on the C drive, and that folder was called add-ins. So if we go to computer, C drive, and now we're looking for add-ins. Oops, I'm sorry. Got to scroll this up. The add-ins folder. So we're browsing to enable 3 of these add-ins. One is the heat transfer add-in, so we have to do that one. Then we have to browse to find the second add-in, which is the ME415 add-in. And then finally, it keeps throwing you back to this default location for these to be stored. We may be able to just go to recent places, yes, and find that. And now we're looking for air water properties in English. Okay, so we've now browsed and found the air water properties in English, the heat transfer add-in, and the ME415 add-in. So they're all there now. We click OK, and a little bit of magic should happen. What you will probably see is a splash screen like this one be displayed on your computer, and a splash screen like this one displayed on your computer. When we created these add-ins, we thought it would be a good idea to have the user be notified visually whether or not these add-ins are active behind the scenes, because you don't have any way of knowing it. But once these add-ins have been activated, each time you open Excel, these splash screens should come up. They can be disabled if you want, but I think it's a good idea just so you know which add-ins are available. So that is the secret to how to easily or quickly get all three of those add-ins available and working on a Windows-based PC. So the steps again are to visit the website Excel in ME, go to the Thermal Systems tab, and download the ME415 64-bit.msi installer file. Run that 64-bit.msi installer file. That will place the three add-in files in the C drive of your computer under a folder called add-ins. The next steps are then taken in the Excel program itself. You bring Excel up, go into the File Options page, and two things. One is to enable the Developer tab to appear on the ribbon for customize the ribbon. And then the second thing are the Trust Center settings, to go to the Trust Center and enable the macros and allow the trust access to the VBA project object module. With those steps at the options stage, the final step is to go to Excel add-ins on the Developer tab and to browse to find those add-ins that were copied by the installer file, and to individually select each one of those. Once you have completed these steps to activate these add-ins will remain or persist as installed behind the scenes on that computer that you've installed them each time you open Excel on that computer. So you won't have to go through all of these steps again. Okay, so that's the synopsis on how to quickly get the heat transfer add-ins, the ME415 add-in, and the air water properties English add-in installed on your computer. I can just point out that once you've done that, you can see these as categories. Again, on your Windows-based computer, you can see these as categories under the function help here, where it says insert a function. And if you use this drop-down box to find at the bottom of that list, they'll have ME415, air, water, English, and heat transfer listed there. If you click on one of those, you'll see what kind of functions you have available in there. So for example, under air, water, English, we've got some things called CP Air English, CP H2O English, and similar names to get us to get the kinematic viscosity of water, kinematic viscosity of air, the density of air, atmospheric pressure, density of water as a function of temperature. So those functions are available in here, and we'll talk more about how to use these later. Okay.